Good afternoon, everybody. This is Rebel Commander at your service, reporting on the uprising against the Galactic Empire. All right, where are we at? It's Tuesday, September 3rd. It's been a few days since I've gone live here, so we got some catching up to do. And I'll give you a quick preview of what we'll be discussing because YouTube only gives me so much space in those little headline boxes. So we'll first touch on Hurricane Dorian. Just catastrophic. I mean, it's mind-blowing what's going on there. Hope all those Bahamanians are okay. So I want to touch on that. Also want to touch on whether it was modified or manipulated in some way. A lot of people asking that question, so I want to touch on that. We'll also take a look at the Hong Kong protests. Things getting crazy over there. Crazier. Let's see here. What else? Epstein news. No, we ain't done with him. He might be dead or suicided or whatever the heck happened to him, but we still got news coming out about Epstein's case. We have a VIP, very important person, on the run, and also another anonymous person trying to prevent the unsealing of more Epstein documents. Yes, there's more documents coming out. A lot more. We'll touch on that. And we've got FISA news, Flynn news. We've got big tech causing problems, and they got some of the problems of their own. And then we'll finish up with Space Force and UFOs. Man, if you thought those spacecraft in Star Wars were cool, man, those guys don't even levitate. Imagine what Lockheed and Boeing has in their black projects right now. Blows anything you saw in Star Wars out of the water. But anyway, let's get started. First of all, shout out to a sponsor of this video in the Q coin. GreatAwakeningCoin.com. You can pick up commemorative Q coin, Q on the front, Great Awakening, and some detailed etchings on the back. You can use the promo code Jordan, just my first name, for $5 off 2 of these guys. You can keep one, you can hand one off. It's just neat. Neat commemorative gift. Grab one for the holidays. Holidays coming up already. Pretty nuts. But there you go, GreatAwakeningCoin.com. Now let's move into those Hurricane Dorian videos, and I mean, I'm not going to play too many of them. There's plenty of them on Twitter. If you want to go search for yourself, they get pretty sad and they get tragic. But I mean, truly, this is just, it's reality. So it's actually going on. So let's take a look at it. That storm surge, those floodwaters are like 20 feet high, man. A lot of people were camping out in the second story of their homes. I saw some videos where the floodwaters were even getting up to the second stories, even to the attic in some people's houses. Just awful stuff. Prayers for everybody there in the Bahamas, and I hope they get the help they need. Here's one video of it. Here's another of the aftermath, somebody going through the streets of a town there after the hurricane had passed, and you can just see the damage. I mean, cars are wrecked, homes are wrecked, power lines down. Just terrible stuff, man. Category 5. Massive Category 5, too. And then here's an aerial shot. Back out here. Here's an aerial shot of Abaco. If I'm getting that name right. Abaco, Bahamas. And, man, it just looks like a wasteland. Most of these homes aren't even homes anymore. So it's gnarly stuff, guys. So hope everything's okay for them there. Hope they get the support they need through all this. Now a lot of people asking the question, okay? Has it been modified? Has there been weather manipulation in play with Hurricane Dorian in some way, okay? I want to bring some common sense to this issue, okay? Now, I've seen some evidence, okay? But by some evidence, it's not necessarily selling me on the fact that there's modification in play with this. But what I mean by this is, okay, I've seen, for instance, this YouTube channel here, if it loads for me. So, anyway, this particular YouTube channel, once it comes up, he was showing some photos of some aerosol spraying being done ahead of the hurricane. He was also showing some particular high-pressure systems that would look like it was directing the hurricane. This channel's not coming up for me right now. Huh. Are you surprised? But anyway, I'll link these videos down below that I was discussing here. And what this particularly led people to believe, or what people were doing, is thinking it was modified as a fact, okay? And this is the point I want to make here, is that, yeah, you might have some data to support your point, but to run with your theories or speculations as being pure 100% fact, I don't think it's necessarily the smartest thing to do. I'm trying to make this video come up here, but it's not working for me right now. Anyway, we'll move on here. But point being is that I'm just seeing a lot of confirmation bias. I'm seeing a lot of confirmation bias come into play, and people are, again, running with their ideas as fact when they might not have enough logical evidence to support that as such. So you want to be careful with doing that. You know, you can say, okay, there might be modification in play. You can run with the idea of who's doing it, good guys, bad guys, whatever. But again, to say it's fact when you don't know, not only does it damage your credibility, but it also can hurt the movement as a whole, because those mainstream media hyena shills are looking for any chance they get to attack the movement, you know, and then they can take a tweet out of context and say, hey, look at these crazies. They're saying this has been done, when they don't really have all that much evidence. So just be careful. Be careful with what you're claiming is fact, what you're theorizing, how much evidence you have to support said theory, and what you're posting publicly on the internet with all of that, all right? That being said, I'm not necessarily sold on it being modified or manipulated, but again, I'm not sold on it not being manipulated. You also have to take into effect the solar output. There's been a lot of solar weather hitting our Earth in the past few days, and space weather, solar weather does have an impact on weather systems as well. It can strengthen them electrically and whatnot. So a lot of things to think about. Always expand your perspective. Always try to think of the pieces you might be missing, you know? But now moving on into the Hong Kong protests here. Here's one video I saw, and man, this shit is tragic too. I woke up on Sunday to videos of what's going on in the Bahamas and videos of what's going on in Hong Kong, and that's like all I saw on Twitter. And I don't know why I was just watching all these videos. It was like me just choosing to traumatize myself, like masochistic in a way. But I just couldn't look away. You know, this is reality. This is our world and what's happening here. And these Hong Kong protests are getting gnarly. These police are almost hunting the protesters down. You can see here they're going onto subways. They're finding protesters and just going to town on them with their batons and their mace there. I don't want to play any more of that video. How about this one here? It's the same video. And then that is causing quite an uprising there in Hong Kong. I've heard, I don't know if this is true or not, but I've heard that police are even dropping UV powder on the protesters that they can see with a black light later when they comb the subways like that and then find who's been protesting. It's just, it's gnarly, man. And it's causing quite a stir in Hong Kong. You see this video here. You've got just, God, that's got to be tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people out there protesting. Try and arrest all them. Try and arrest all them, you commies. Can't do it. That's the power in numbers. That is the power in numbers. And, man, let's hope these Hong Kong folks get some freedom or some lessening of their plight soon. Just what's going on there is tragic as well. I think the whole world needs some prayer right now, needs some positive thought to get us past all this craziness that's going on. So let's hope that situation in Hong Kong eases a bit soon. Or let's just hope they all freaking rise up and take over their shitty governments. Let's do that worldwide. Why not? I also see some folks retweeting a lot of blue check marks and, you know, celebrities, politicians and whatnot. They're retweeting this video, these Hong Kong protests, and trying to use it for their own propaganda purposes. These protesters in Hong Kong, they're protesting their communist government, their Orwellian government, right? And then we've got blue check marks on Twitter like retweeting this, ironically saying, yeah, we need this in America, but they're the folks who support the communist practices. It's just total irony, total hypocrisy. And not just that, but truly, imagine if we had this worldwide and people started standing up for what really matters. What really matters. One more Twitter video here that I want to share with you, and this one is just hilarious. Speaking of uprising and speaking of, you know, doing what they're doing in China, here in North America at least, Justin Trudeau, Canadian Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, he was at a Labor Day parade up in Canada yesterday, Labor Day up there, and he was booed. He was booed so much, you can see him there, he gets booed at this parade, that he left. He was booed out of the parade. I'll link this tweet below. You can watch it yourself and laugh. Just laugh at this pathetic excuse for a human Trudeau get booed out of the parade. How amazing. These people are not safe walking down the streets. I don't mean that violently, but I just mean that people are going to heckle them. People are going to say, we don't want you here, you crooked politician. And they're going to start standing up. This is why the elites, the thing they're most scared of is an awakened, informed society. Society is informed. They will come together, they will amass, and they will protest. And they will be very loud and very vocal about it and boo these corrupt assholes out of public events like this. So that's just great stuff. What a way to have our Labor Day. And a few other things. I want to touch on the gunman in Texas, the Texas shooting. And the only thing I really want to mention about it is, well, number one, it's weird. It's just weird. Another shooting there in Texas, not all that far from El Paso. And, I mean, calls for gun control legislation right afterward. We now have, oh yeah, Walmart, they're banning all their gun and ammunition sales. And, I mean, just, you know, it's real false flaggy. All the markings of a false flag. Not just that, but one of the biggest markings that you look for when you're trying to deduce, analyze whether something is a false flag or not, is contradicting reports. So when this shooting happened, I was scrolling Twitter, scrolling the news feeds not very long after, and I saw the initial report state that there were multiple shooters. I saw multiple reports, and these weren't coming from citizen journalists. These were coming from, you know, blue check mark, local news, and maybe even some national news networks. Multiple shooters. Now we're being told that, yeah, he had an AR-type weapon, and he acted alone. Now that's the official story that we're being told about this. So that's really all I wanted to relay to you here is just, I don't know, getting the weirds about this. And another thing you can always tell if it was a false flag shooting, it gets mainstream press coverage. How many mass shootings do we have in Chicago? Or I think we even had a shooting in Alabama at a football game over the weekend. You know, these ones probably be more gang related than anything, but still, they don't get press coverage. These ones where you had the lone wolf shooter with all the contradicting statements when they have their social media profile sanitized right after the event occurs, just all this weird stuff, you know, you get the false flaggy vibes, don't you? Yeah, and remember, we've got Jim Watkins, owner of 8chan, testifying in front of Congress in just a couple days here. 2 days, Thursday. So no doubt this is feeding into that propaganda push, events such as this. So you can connect the dots there on your own. Let's move on into Epstein. All right, so a couple things on Epstein. Number one, just found this a few minutes ago. I don't think this article came out an hour or two ago. It says, John Doe begs judge not to name names in Epstein gal pal case. John Doe. So what this is saying is literally an anonymous man. He's terrified. He's about to be named in court papers related to Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. And he is begging the court not to unseal it. Lawyers for Mr. John Doe filed the letter today, just a day before Virginia Roberts, oh God, I'm going to butcher that name, Gouffet, Epstein's self-proclaimed sex slave. She's supposed to be in court tomorrow to say a lot of stuff. Okay, so that's why today, lawyers for Mr. Anonymous Man here is trying to stifle that. And this article goes on to state a little bit about, you know, there's high-profile people, not so high-profile people, a lot of people, you know, a lot of stuff we basically don't know yet about this. But what I find most telling in this article here is this line. It says it's a whole new set of documents 5 to 10 times larger in volume than what has been released so far. the lawyer said, referring to nearly 2,000 pages of case documents that were made public on August 9th, just a day before Epstein's death by suicide. Can't finger quote that enough. But we got 2,000 pages back on August 9th. You remember everything that we were learning from that? Holy crap. This could be nearly 10 to 20,000 pages of documents. A whole new series of documents that we could learn about in this civil case of these accusers accusing Epstein and the others of said crimes. So holy moly, like I said, we're not done. This Epstein case, he might be gone, but we're not done with the case, and we're not done with more investigations proceeding with many of the players involved. Okay? Remember, isn't Ghislaine Maxwell, she's either A, on the run, or B, talking to the feds, talking to the FBI already. Prince Andrew is basically denying as much as he can. We've got Mr. Anonymous trying to stifle any more unsealing. And then we have this guy, millionaire model agency boss. His name's Jean-Luc Brunel. Jean-Luc Brunel, 72-year-old millionaire model agency boss. He's on the run right now. He's basically vanished, disappeared, because authorities in, well, especially French authorities, but basically multiple countries, are looking for this guy and they want to question him. And the huge connect right here is that Mr. Jean-Luc Brunel founded New York model agency MC2. MC2. When I read that, boom, light bulb, instantly, over my head. Where does that connect? You guessed it, Rachel Chandler. Here's a Q drop from just about a month and a half ago. 23rd of July, 2019. Drop 3469. Let me zoom in for you guys there. Q links a tweet from Sean Corticon and goes into talking about how these models, otherwise known as probably targets to these deep state folk, their targets are made to fill out extensive background reports, asked in detail about their family. They try to find the people that are from low-income families who are depressed, who can't fight back, and who can be easily trafficked. That's who they look for, these sick bastards. And then Q goes on to link this tweet from Corticon. Let's take a look at this tweet. Corticon did some great digging here and said, this is how Ray Chandler ties directly to child sex slave human trafficker Jeffrey Epstein right here. Epstein's victim, Virginia Roberts, oh, what a quinky dink. The chick who's supposed to be in court tomorrow, said in court filings that Epstein and MC2 modeling agency founder Jean-Luc Brunel and their associates, quote, deliberately engage in a pattern of racketeering that involved luring minor children through that modeling agency, mostly girls under the age of 17, to engage in sexual play for money. They were child sex trafficking through this modeling agency. Yeah, no doubt that Mr. Jean-Luc is on the run right now. Probably on a boat somewhere, trying to evade any country he can. I mean, these people are on the run. And with Q and with all the citizen journalists that are out there, there's so much of this information that's publicly available. It's incredible. On their Instagram accounts that they forget to make private, or they're too arrogant to make private, or whatever the case is, you can find a lot of information, like Corticon did here. And then here's a couple of his sources. And then also, check this out. P.S. Epstein funded the MC2 modeling agency that worked with Ray Chandler's agency, Midland. Midland. The only reason that I'm highlighting that is because where was that false flag shooting, or, you know, potentially false flag shooting, really seemed like that, in Texas over the weekend with that, quote, lone gunman. Midland, Texas. I don't know. I just saw that and it was interesting to me. Shooting happened in Midland, and Ray Chandler's modeling agency was Midland, Texas, or Midland, excuse me. And then just, you know, you see connects, synchronicities, coincidence, I don't know. But there you go. We're going to be learning a lot more about Epstein coming up quick. And then one thing on Corticon as well, speaking of him, he needs some help right now. He most definitely needs our help. He's an awesome citizen journalist. If you followed his Twitter account, he puts a lot of great information out there. Good enough to get queued. So that's a thumbs up in my book. and he had a very bad car accident over the weekend, maybe just yesterday. I'm not sure how long ago, but a couple of days ago, day and a half. He broke his back, shattered just his ribs. You know, he's looking messed up. So send him some prayers, send him some support. I'll link this tweet, his Twitter down below, where you can go do so. Hope you get well soon, Corticon. We need you in this battle. Let's move on to talking FISA now. So, Epic Times, great outlet. They've been getting a lot of hate lately, a lot of heat from the mainstream media, but they're great. Got to reiterate that here. Headline, Comey's Trump Tower meeting was used for FBI's counterintelligence investigation. So with that IG report coming out, it's putting a lot of heat, and all these deep state players, these ex-intel guys, politicians, James Comey being one. Also, we're waiting for FISA indictments. McCabe going to be indicted soon. A lot of these other folks. We had a congressman over the weekend basically predict that Horowitz's FISA report will lead to indictments. And Q Army, citizen journalists, you know, digital soldiers out there in the Rebel Alliance, we all know that. We all know that these FISA declassifications are going to be at the start of that snowball and just lead to, God, who knows where, lead to crazy, beautiful places, arresting of these deep state perps. But the fact that congressmen are now openly discussing this on mainstream cable networks, that's very good. And this particular congressman, Andy Biggs of Arizona, he said that, let's see here, the congressman anticipated the FISA report will be released probably mid-September. So probably a couple weeks from now, which I've sort of been anticipating over the last week or two. I was thinking that, yeah, they're going to want probably 8chan back online and Q posting again before they start FISA declass, because they're going to want a way to guide us, a way to show the way as things get a little more rocky and declass starts happening. So, you know, I wouldn't doubt if soon after Jim Watkins testifies, maybe in a week or two after that, 8chan will come back online, Q posts again, and then we get into the fireworks. So that's just a theory, speculation in my head. Makes sense to me that they would want 8chan back and Q back posting before that, but maybe not. Maybe we just get to the fireworks and Q never posts again. Maybe, but all a part of the plan, right? However it happens, it's going to be beautiful. Now, one last thing on FISA, and this having to do with Michael Flynn, General Flynn. Evidence request by Flynn's lawyer seeks to expose the Clinton FBI alliance in the Russia probe. So basically, as you probably know, maybe, General Flynn has a new attorney, Sidney Powell, and she's a beast. And she's hitting back at the judge and the prosecution there, basically saying that, well, they're looking for what's called Brady material, otherwise known as exculpatory evidence, evidence that the prosecution is withholding because it destroys their prosecution, because it shows that Flynn is innocent. So they're looking for that evidence, Flynn's lawyer is. And of course that ties in with the same folks that were illegally abusing FISA, illegally wiretapping. So I think Flynn's exoneration, a lot more details proving Flynn to be innocent, will come to light and sort of coincide with what we get from FISA. They sort of have to, right? So the way this has all been lining up, Patriots protect Patriots, as Q says. This has all just been lining up, I don't know, beautifully. Even if Q never posts again, we're going to look back on this in however long and just be in awe. We always will be. So, support Flynn, and glad to see him start to fight back, start to basically go into attack mode. You know, for year and a half there, he was working with the special counsel investigation and going along with his prosecution, and now just tables have turned now. It's open season. So that's that. We'll move on into some big tech. YouTube news. YouTube saying it's removing more hate speech than before, but controversial channels remain up. This is their PR. They're giving the public right now. Yeah, we've been censoring a lot, but we got to censor more. It's basically what they're saying. And they've claimed in a blog post today that they've removed more than 100,000 videos and over 17,000 channels between April and June of this year. Interesting 17 there. Those don't get lost on me. But nevertheless, 100,000 videos and 17,000 channels in 3 months. Only 3 months. 2 of those videos were mine, bastards. And they are saying that that is 5 times more than the previous 3 months before that. So in 3 months, 100,000 videos, 17,000 channels, 5 times more than normal. That's a lot. That's a lot of censorship. And I'm sure some of that's illegal content, blah, 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 stuff they shouldn't have up. But, of course, some of it is not hate speech. Some of it is not violent content. Some of that is not domestic terrorism content. It's just good old people searching for truth and sharing that truth. And I'm one of those people. I think my longtime watchers can attest that you won't find anything violent in my videos. Nothing violent. But they claim it's hate speech. And hate speech is their super vague reason that these big tech companies are using to do that censorship. They're calling stuff all across the board hate speech so they can censor it. It reminds me of how the intelligence community uses the national security reason in a very vague way to do just all sorts of stuff. We got to keep that technology secret for national security reasons. It's nonsense. So there's that. YouTube still censoring. But Google coming under some heat. Google, YouTube, of course, same thing. Google owns YouTube. Google could face far-reaching antitrust investigations as soon as next week. Next week. And this is being done by a consortium of state attorney generals. A lot of them, like 20 to 30 state attorney generals. They're looking to announce as soon as next week all these antitrust probes into Google. And that is in combination with other antitrust probes we already have going on into Google. So there's one that the FTC is doing. This article goes on to discuss a little bit about, but basically the FTC has an investigation into Google for antitrust, for monopolization, basically, or, oh no, that's into Facebook, but Google as well. And then the DOJ, the Federal Attorney General, also has antitrust investigations, not just into Google, but Facebook and a lot of these other big tech companies too. So let's hope that that curbs a little of this censorship that's just getting absolutely absurd. So that's that. And speaking of censorship, Pinterest now. Pinterest. If you think censorship's just on YouTube and Facebook, you're wrong. It's also on Pinterest. It's also on Medium. It's also on, God, just about any big tech company you can freaking think of. So Pinterest is now doing pretty much the exact same thing we found Google doing, and that's manipulating search results and sending people directly to the liars, directly to the propagandists that they want you to believe. Pinterest is essentially, so when people search for vaccine information in their database, Pinterest is sending them directly to the WHO, the World Health Organization, and the CDC. Do you see the problem here? Do you see the problem? It's like, I really want some information on Hillary Clinton. So I'm going to go to the Clinton Presidential Library to get it. I really want some truthful information on the CIA. So I'm going to go to CIA.gov. That'll give me the truth. The World Health Organization, they recently just listed vaccine hesitancy as being the top 10, one of the top 10 global health threats. Vaccine hesitancy. Yeah, they're non-biased, completely non-biased. Sarcasm, /sarcasm there. The CDC, how many of those scientists for the CDC also work for private corporations like Merck? How about the CEO of the CDC or the board directors of many of these big pharmaceutical corporations? How are they involved in all of this? What's that revolving door like? Sick shit, man. Sick shit. Pinterest, all these other tech companies sending people right to the chopping block, basically. Yeah, get your brainwashing propaganda and go get your shots. Reject the poison, guys. Don't just reject the physical poison that's injected into you or they try to get you to eat, but you also got to reject the mental poison too. Or at least understand what they're trying to feed you when you read that mental poison, right? You go to the CDC website, you know that they're going to give you some biased BS. Got to be careful. Got to be careful. And then let's get into talking UFOs and Space Force, okay? So, first thing, the Washington Post. Washington Post, they put this article out. The Space Force's rocky start is bad news for America. All right. Let's connect some dots with this one. So the Washington Post, as you might very well know, and you should very well know, the Washington Post is basically like corporate bullshit propaganda #1 for the deep state to go to. Remember, Amazon bought the Washington Post back in 2013, and this was not long after Amazon got a $600 million cloud computing contract from the CIA. So if ipso facto, Amazon bought the Washington Post with basically CIA money. Started putting a bunch of propaganda out through the Washington Post. I mean, they sort of always have, but got really bad after Amazon bought them. Let's see, after the WikiLeaks emails dropped in 2016, John Podesta ran as fast as he could to the Washington Post and started writing all this propaganda for him. What else? They're just bad. They're just bad. They are terrible. They've been leading the attacks against Q. They've been leading some of these attacks against anti-vaxxers and, excuse me, other conspiracy theories. So let's take a look at their attacks against the Space Force. Why would the Washington Post be trying to basically undermine here the Space Force? The reason being is because it's, of course, CIA propaganda. And the CIA, the intelligence community, they do not want to give up their secret space secrets. Their secret space programs, the technologies in them, how much money gets siphoned away from public budgets into these black projects that are off the books, that are out of congressional oversight. The intelligence community doesn't want to give up their secrets, man. So no doubt the Washington Post, on behalf of the CIA, is going to start putting out a bunch of propaganda trying to undermine the Space Force. Because they're always trying to undermine President Trump. They're always trying to attack QAnon and other conspiracy theories. So, well, if the Space Force offers an avenue for the Rebel Alliance with Trump at the helm and QAnon guiding the way, if Space Force offers an avenue for them to start disclosing some of these secret space programs and technologies, acquiring them, consolidating them, disclosing them, well, yeah, the CIA is going to try to undermine that, undermine Trump and Q and the Space Force as much as they can. So, hope that helps shed a little bit of light on this. And I've said that about the Space Force for quite a while now, and I'm still sticking by that. The Space Force is critical. It's critical. It's essential. It's not just, oh, yeah, Space Force, Starship Troopers, rabble, you know. It's actually critical because there's technologies that have been hidden from the public for decades. There's been ungodly amounts of money that have been funneled into these corporate-owned black projects. And I mean, just, it's secrets we need, we deserve, as a public. So, that's that. Next thing on space, how about Elon Musk? Elon Musk dropping bombshells over alien existence and how SpaceX is better than Area 51. So, Elon Musk, in a conference over in Shanghai, China, of all places, over in China, Elon Musk was claiming that SpaceX has a special branch that he believes is better than Area 51, and adding that the U.S. government has definitely not made contact with other life forms. That's what Elon Musk is claiming. A couple things on that. So, as we get into 2020, okay, the UFO topic is going to start picking up steam. If you think it's been pretty interesting what we've seen in the mainstream media about UFOs the past, almost 2 years now, it's going to get more pronounced, it's going to get weirder, it's going to get more in our faces. And Elon Musk is probably one person they're going to use to do that. Elon Musk, can't tell if he's just a useful idiot or if he's going along with their propaganda, but he lies. He does here, or he's just wrong. And another person that's going to be in the spotlight is this guy, Mr. Tom D. Good old ex-Blink-182 guy. Good old rock musician, somehow turned UFO disclosure advocate, but he's just disclosing the most nonsensical things about UFOs. These are two guys that are going to be in the spotlight about it, and they're both going to be saying very twisted things. Let's take a look at what Elon Musk was saying. SpaceX has an Area 59, and it's 8 better than Area 51. Yeah, he's probably joking, but let's be real. SpaceX is still using rockets. When we're talking about secret space programs, we're not just talking about rockets or satellites. We're talking about freaking metal discs and black triangles that can levitate with just electricity. They're propelling themselves with electromagnetism, guys, and levitating and stuff. So, yeah, it's kind of a slap in the face to all of us that Elon Musk claims to be this entrepreneur and this grand business wizard, but he's still using rocket propulsion when we could have had, you know, anti-gravity discs like 50 years ago on this planet already. He calls his company Tesla, but doesn't use Tesla technology in any of his companies. I mean, Elon Musk is just a giant smokescreen, okay? And to say that the U.S. government has not made contact with other life forms, also wrong. We have an incredible amount of evidence that there's been crashed craft and retrieved bodies and contact made as well at high levels in secret. I mean, just a lot of evidence for all of that. Can't get into all of it here, but there's plenty of books, plenty of volumes on it all. So Elon Musk being the smokescreen, being the gatekeeper. Another gatekeeper is good old Tom DeLonge here. And here's an article that came out about 4 days ago. Like I said, we're going to get a lot more of these as we get into 2020. And it might even become a campaign issue. We already saw Bernie Sanders address it. And in 2016, they wanted it to be a campaign issue with Hillary Clinton. You know, she was answering questions on Jimmy Kimmel and other late-night talk shows about UFOs and getting to the bottom of it. But I think it's going to be more so pronounced as a campaign issue in 2020. So we'll see what kind of carrot they try to dangle in front of all the bewildered voters for the next election. But nevertheless, right here, can Blink-182's Tom DeLonge prove there's life on other planets? Unidentified. If you've heard about it, it's the docu-series that was on the History Channel for, I think, just 6 episodes. Premiered a couple months ago. Unidentified is a new doc-series about aliens funded by Tom DeLonge. He apparently executive produced it, but I don't know how much production he actually did with it. Basically, it just looks like he's the name in the face. It's getting a lot of this, like I said, twisted UFO context out into the picture. The people associated with Tom DeLonge, remember, Tom DeLonge and John Podesta were found emailing each other back in 2015 and 16 when WikiLeaks released Podesta's emails in October of 2016. It wasn't just pizza and pasta and walnut sauce listed in those emails, folks. You had extraterrestrial intelligence and zero-point energy and a lot of other stuff in those emails too. They're more profound than many think. And not just that, but who's on Tom DeLonge's To the Stars Academy Research Organization? Who's on the board of that? We've got ex-CIA guys, ex-Lockheed guys. You've got this dude that was in the intelligence community who's a member of the super wealthy Mellon banking family. Mellon banking family, they did work with the Carnegies back in the day. Like, yeah, that's who I'm going to trust for UFO information. Ex-CIA guys, ex-Intel officials, you know, members of wealthy aristocratic banking families, just all that. No, not at all. And there's this huge push, not just in the mainstream, but in the underground UFO circuits, in the conferences that people go to, and in Gaia and MUFON and all these other organizations. There's this really weird push promoting this. It's just gatekeepers galore, okay? And they're trying to, and ironically, it's usually the same people. The same people who promote Tom DeLonge in the UFO community are the same people who deny Pizzagate, they deny QAnon, and they tend to be anti-Trumpers. So they're either, unfortunately, still have some waking up to do, still got some brainwashing going on in there, or I see with some of these authors and speakers and whatnot, we got some controlled opposition. We got a lot of controlled opposition out there, folks. Be careful. Be careful of those false idols. Be careful of the people bearing false gifts, as they say. And definitely research their connections. Follow the money. Follow what they're not telling you, okay? That's a big thing with all these, a lot of these soft disclosures we're getting these days, especially with UFOs. It's almost more important what they're not telling you in their research. So anyway, I'll stop ranting on all that. That's about as much as I wanted to cover today. We went through UFOs, tech censorship, FISA news, Epstein news, and just crazy stuff going on around the world. So thank you guys for hanging out with me for a little bit here. Yeah, thank you comment section. Thank you live crew for showing up for this one today. Just wanted to let you guys know, if you want to support the independent journalism I do, you can do so on Patreon here. I'm doing live chats every week now. Used to only do 1 or 2 a month. I'm going to do them every single week. So if you sign up on Patreon at whatever amount, whatever you can or are willing to do, I just appreciate it. You'll get live chats every week. You'll get a couple giveaways a month. You'll get a discount code to my website to grab anything you want from there. A lot of perks for signing up. A lot of perks. It's a fun time on there. And then speaking of anything on my website, everything is free shipping. Free shipping for the Organite, for the greens, for anything else on there. And also I have a coupon code lasting the rest of this week. If you want to grab anything from my website, 10% off. DTI10. Enter DTI10 as the coupon code. Everything's 10% off. If you sign up for Patreon, it's a 20% off coupon code that's doesn't expire. You get it forever, as long as you're a Patreon member. So that's it for this one, guys. Thank you all for tuning in. A few things I wanted to mention there, and see you guys soon. Thank you so much, everybody.